Good morning, TV land. Good afternoon, good evening, regardless of what time of day it is where you're watching this program. Welcome to WeBeam TV, and this is Taboo Talk with Ray and Steve. I'm Ray Amanat, based out of Port Richey, and I'd like to bring in my co-host, Mr. Steve Reed, who is in an undisclosed location, a safe house, if you will, somewhere in Texas. Mr. Steve Reed. Look at that
Ray,
picture.
good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, looking forward to a continuation of last week's topic, which is, of course, bullying.
Yeah, last week we talked about bullying from the perspective of looking at children and youth. But today, Ray, we got another interesting twist on that, and that is adult and cyber bullying. But next to you, Ray, I got to commend you. You've added a lovely addition to our program today, Ms. Debbie Scofield. And I understand she's the executive vice president at Heroes in Action, and she tries to tell you what to do.
She tries to tell me what to do. I mean, you give her some power and she becomes a bully. I mean, and we're going to be discussing that today. Women empowered, do they become bullies? I don't know. Well, to be continued on that.
Nice to be here. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Steve.
I'm glad you're here. You definitely brightened the whole set all the way around.
Thank you.
That means we need hair and makeup. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. What's that? Me being a bully.
Ray, who's our sponsor today?
So we have multiple sponsors. Our main sponsor, of course, is Heroes in Action, which is our nonprofit organization that is dedicated to violence prevention education. We focus on doing anti-bully presentations for elementary school kids, middle school and high school. We have a program called Choices, Sabotage or Success. And then we have programs for families and adults as well as businesses on how not to be victims of any form of violence. And then our other two sponsors, I think you're going to cover.
Yeah, first of all is a company called Lifewave. They've been around for about 20 years, almost 20 years, and everything is based on science. The founder of the company and inventor, Mr. David Schmidt, came up with this concept of a Lifewave patch, and what it does is it helps activate your stem cells, and it tells your stem cells what they are supposed to be doing. As we age, our stem cells stop working. And what this does is it actually activates your stem cells to give you faster wound healing, heightened energy, deeper sleep, rapid pain relief. And Ray, for you, it will also help remove those wrinkles and lines in your face. So this amazing patch,
wow.
It's about the size of a quarter. Just put it on your body, and it is an amazing patch. It has taken my lower back pain away almost instantly.
So you know what, Steve? I was looking into, I'm not going to name the company, but they do stem cell therapies, injections, and things like that. Mm-hmm. And they're not covered by insurance. Mm-hmm. And it's pricey. You're looking at, for one joint area that you want to work on, it's $8,000. And then, you know, they looked at my knees as well, and they were looking at $4,000 a knee. So I'm looking at $16,000 just to do stem cell therapies with the injections. So this might be a little bit more cost effective. I'm actually seriously going to get together with you and learn more about this so that I can see if it's a fit for avoiding another hip replacement and possible knee replacements down the road. So I would love
without being specific, it's less than the price of a cup of coffee a day.
Well, that's
very affordable.
Hook me up. Who's our
There
other
you go.
sponsor that we've got?
Well, the other sponsor is the Shaklee Corporation and my friend Natalie Thurmond. Natalie has been with the Shaklee Corporation for over 41 years. And I tell Natalie all the time, you don't do nothing for 41 years if it don't work. And Natalie introduced me to their program recently. It's called Meology. And what Meology does is you do an assessment online and it tells you exactly what the best supplements are for you, what your body needs based on how you talked about or how you answered the different questions. Now, of course, Shaklee has all of the traditional vitamins and supplements, A, B, C, D, etc. But I really love this Meology program because it gives me exactly what my body needs. So reach out to Natalie Thurmond. She can definitely answer all of your questions. And I promise you will not be disappointed.
Yes, no, Natalie is a great friend of the show, and we're lucky to have her as one of our sponsors. So, where are we? We were going to pick up from where we left off. Last week, I think we ended with cyberbullying, and we were short on time, and I didn't get to really delve into how parents can kind of identify it. I had sent it's called coolmomtech.com. It's a website people can go to that educate parents on everything about text messaging. So all of the different codes, all the different ways that kids communicate with each other, trying to hide it from what their parents are looking for. If the parents don't know what the text means, they don't know if their child is talking about drugs, they don't know if their child is talking about sex or a hookup or anything like that. And this website takes parents through all of the different ways kids communicate with each other, and it's just an eye-opener. So I really recommend going to that website. Another solution for parents is I see a lot of families that kids have the TV in the bedroom, the computer in the bedroom, and what that does is it keeps kids from staying up or from going to bed and getting the rest that they need to be productive in school. If the TV is out of the bedroom, the computer is in the living room where the parents can kind of monitor who the child is talking to. And the cell phone is not charged in the bedroom because there's times kids are being bullied at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and ding, ding, their phones are going off. Where if the phones were being charged in the parents' bedroom, they can hear the dings. It's not going to give the parents much sleep, but they can see who's talking to their child, and is it a good conversation? Is it a bad conversation? Is that the problem the child is having where they're not getting the rest that they need? They're waking up nervous because are kids going to laugh at them? Are they not popular anymore? All the things kids go through that cause stress that leads to depression. I don't know, Debbie, if you want to add to that, or Steve as well.
Oh, Debbie.
Yeah, I just, when we were raising my stepson, we made sure that the computer was in an open area. He wasn't real happy about it. He didn't get a cell phone until he had to have one to drive. We didn't see any use in him being able to text, get messages, or get on the internet to view inappropriate content. So we had a pretty heavy hand when it came to keeping him safe and keeping us in the know of what was going on in his life.
That makes total sense. There's another option also. If that child, as you said, Debbie, turned 16, if that child is 12, 13, 14 years old, 15 years old, do they really need to have a cell phone that gives them access to the world?
No.
So what I recommend to some parents is just block every single number except for mom and dad's numbers, 911, maybe the school, and maybe one other person as an emergency contact. That way they're not going to be bothered by the bullies because they won't receive the texts at all. As far as the computer in the bedroom, or putting the computer in the living room or some other place in the house, there's another alternative, and that is you take the door off the bedroom.
Right. Even
Little things like that.
even game boxes can be used
Yes,
for predators to get in through to. So
absolutely. So it's all about the parent's responsibility of protecting that child, and if it's things that the parents aren't aware of, the app that you're talking about, Ray, or the different apps that you're talking about, I think those things are phenomenal. I can't wait to look into that because I've got some parents that I'm working with, and they're 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids, and they're having some challenges, and they don't know exactly what to do to help protect them. But the little things that parents do, a parent's job initially, or first of all, is not to be a friend to that child. It's to be their protector and their guide, and the person that teaches them the responsibility in life. So you got to, as a parent, you've got to take care of those kids and make sure that they are being protected properly.
So if you're a parent viewing this show, you can go to our Heroes in Action Facebook page, and you can ask us questions anytime you want, or message us, and we would be happy to give you more information, give you more tips on what to say, what to do, and handle situations. I would rather be stricter on our child and have them be like, Mom, you're not giving me my freedoms or anything,
Yes.
than have a dead child, than have a child that is going to commit suicide or become the next active shooter. So it is really up to the parents. It's a parent's call. You can be their best friend and give them freedoms that can lead them down towards making bad choices, or you can be a parent and say, as long as you're living under this roof, you're going to be living by our rules, like we talked about. They are the referee. They're the ones that are going to, if you do something that goes against the rules, then you're in the penalty box. You're put there, and then you have to start over from the beginning to show us that you can be a responsible person to get more independence, to get more freedoms.
Okay, so Ray, that brings up a question. Are you saying that the child has to earn the privileges, that it's not just an automatic thing?
Absolutely, absolutely. In my book for the Mushy the Martian, Following Directions, a lot of schools have what they call a star chart. So we created a star chart for Mushy the Martian that rewards positive behavior versus negative behavior. So anytime the child is learning something new, you can give them that gold star, that star chart, and they build it up, and at the end of the week, if they've done everything that they could, it's a way of the parents keeping track as well as the schools keeping track of behavior, so that when they see that it's correct or they're doing it, then they can get rewarded. You as an adult, when you're working, you get rewarded by getting a raise or by getting a promotion. Why can't we do that for kids? We want to reward them for the good things that they do, so that they constantly want to strive to improve themselves and their behaviors to get those rewards. But if they're being punished all the time, I was punished all the time growing up. I didn't care if I lived or died. I didn't care if I did good at school. I was that kid that said, I don't care all the time. But if I had the star chart and everything, that's why a lot of elementary schools, they do that with kids, because it works. It changes the behavior where the teachers are like, they're great at school, but they're monsters at home because the parents aren't doing the same thing at home. Create something that's going to help change the behavior in a positive direction and reward them when they deserve it, when they earn it.
Absolutely. Positive reinforcement is always better than the negative punishment is. And now there are circumstances where you have to enforce the discipline aspect of things. The positive reinforcement, if you can focus on the positive things, the sites to go to, the sites you should stay away from as you're talking about the kids with the Snapchat and TikTok and some of those other things that we've talked about in the past. Focus on the positive things that they can get out of technology as opposed to always coming down to the kids and punishing. And if you can breathe positivity into the kids, they're not going to be tempted to go to the negative sites.
Absolutely.
So Ray, spot on. I love what you're doing. And funny thing with your chart, your star chart, I actually do that with some of my adult clients. So it still works.
It works. I mean, it holds you accountable to your actions.
Absolutely.
Heroes in action, being a hero is based on what you do for other people. It's your actions. So we try to teach people positive actions that are based on being a good Samaritan, helping people without asking for anything. I love the Facebook videos where somebody is going up to a homeless person, or they're pretending to be a homeless person. And hey, do you have $1? Do you have $1? And most people will say, no, get away from me, get away from me. But that person that actually says, yeah, here's some money, they end up giving them $1,000 or whatever. If I was that millionaire, I would be doing that on a daily basis. I would be going out and just rewarding people for being good Samaritans, for doing something good. And not wanting any type of attention or anything for it.
Yeah, not to give a plug to somebody else's program, but I love watching the little video clips from Undercover Boss.
Yes.
Where you have a boss that goes undercover and observes and watches as the employees are doing their day-to-day functions, and they reward the people that are really going the extra mile. So that's what we're talking about. We're rewarding people for good behavior instead of coming down on them all the time for the negative behavior. So, Ray, let me ask you this. Last week we talked almost completely about youth bullying. How do you see that manifesting itself with adults? Do you see it, if they were a bully when they were a teenager, they're automatically going to be a bully as they get older into adult years?
Unless they attended some type of a counseling program or anything to help correct that behavior. Once a child is, here, let me put it to you this way. You had this parent, he was teaching his son to box. I go to a lot of schools and I ask the kids, how many of you have ever heard your parents say this? If anyone's teasing you or bullying you, making fun of you, I want you to just ball up your fist, paint a red circle on their face, and punch them in the nose. When I ask that question, over 80% of the kids raise their hand and say, that's what my mom or that's what my dad told me to do. And therein lies the problem. I had this one dad that said, I teach my son how to box, how to fight. And he's like a pro. He just hits the pads and everything, great. And he said his son, somebody went and bumped into him, so his son thought it was something bad and he just popped the kid in the nose. And he gets in trouble, but what does the dad do? The dad says, son, I'm proud of you. You stood up for yourself. You showed them who's boss. Kid goes back to school, they're on the playground, a kid slides down the slide and accidentally hits his son, this kid again. What does he do? Balls up his fist, socks the kid in the face, gives him a bloody nose. What does the dad say? Son, I'm proud of you. You stood up for yourself. So I asked this dad, I go, if I were to come and, bump into your car with my car, what would you do? He goes, well, I'd call the police. We have insurance. We'd exchange numbers. I go, so you're not going to ball up your fist and punch me in the face? He goes, no, I'd get arrested. I go, well, what do you think you're teaching your child? If your child constantly says, Dad, if you constantly tell your son, I'm proud of you for doing that. They're going to do it through middle school. They're going to do it through high school. And then sooner or later, they're going to get arrested, and you're not going to be able to bail them out. It's not a slap on the wrist and you get suspended from school. They've ingrained that behavior because you have welcomed it. You have praised it. You have said that's how you handle conflict, as opposed to teaching your child different ways of handling conflict verbally, rather than going straight to the physical motion of hitting someone. So the dad sat back and said, I never thought of it that way. Because if your child continues that behavior in middle school, it's ingrained in their system. That's who they're going to be, and it's going to take them getting arrested or going through a juvenile detention center. I don't know, did we talk last week about me going to a juvenile detention center and working with the kids?
I believe you did, yes.
Yes. These are kids that had low self-esteem, that were kicked out of school, they got into trouble, now they're in a juvenile detention center. And in order to correct their behavior, it's giving them programs that are going to build their self-esteem, that are going to help them feel like I can be a productive person in society, I matter, that I can do good. A lot of them just never get the break that they need.
Ray, a lot of times when I'm working with clients, we're all fed negative tapes on a regular basis. You're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid, you're slow, you're uncoordinated, you're whatever. One of the worst ones that I hear is you're going to end up just like your Uncle Jesse, you're going to be in prison. And I don't remember the exact number, but if you looked at the prison population and started questioning some of the people that are incarcerated, over 70% of the people had a parent or a guardian or some type of adult figure that told them when they were growing up that they were going to end up in prison. And sure enough, they are just simply living out the negative things that other people have said. So how do you see that manifesting as we get into adult years? We see it as we're growing up, but are you seeing those same kinds of things, the encouragement or the rewards for the adults when they become bullies to other people? Are you seeing that as well?
So I belong to a networking group. And in this networking group, you get 60 seconds to, pitch about your business. And at the beginning of my pitch, I would, for 3 weeks, I asked the question, who loves violence? And nobody would raise their hand. Everyone would be like, oh no, violence is bad. And then I get into Heroes in Action is about violence prevention. So the 4th week, I become a spotlight speaker, which means I get an extended time to talk about what I do as an educator. And I got up there and I asked everyone, what was the question that I was asking you for the last 3 weeks? And everyone said, who loves violence? And I said, none of you raised your hand, and all of you lied to me. And I'm going to prove it to you. And this is how they lied to me. How many of you like watching hockey? How many of you like watching MMA? How many of you like watching boxing? How many of you couldn't wait for the next John Wick movie to come out or the next Matrix movie to come out, where they're killing thousands of people throughout the whole movie from start to finish? You're looking at death, death, death. You can't tell me you don't love violence. You lied to me. You just think in society we're not supposed to love violence when it's happening to real people. That's just movies. That's just fake. If you like WWE, you love violence. Admit it, but admit that you don't love what's going on in Iraq or in Ukraine right now. There's violence, there's people dying left and right over there. You can't love violence, but you might want to watch it because you're curious about it. So when I put that out to everyone, I hope it gets you to think twice. You know, movies, media, music, everything from an adolescent to an adult level is constantly ramming violence down our throat. There isn't an action movie that I don't see where there's martial arts involved with it, and there's people getting killed left and right. Why don't they, at the end of the movie and the outtakes, show that, hey, it wasn't real, these are just actors, and they're still alive. They have to do a counter to it at the end of the movie just to kind of reprogram people into seeing that it's not real, it's fake. Debbie, I had a question for you. From a female perspective, what does adult bullying look like?
Well, in my opinion, I think adult bullying is anyone who makes you feel less than on an ongoing basis. Sure, there's a snarky comment here or there that might make you feel less than at the moment. Is that bullying? It may be an attempt at bullying, but I think true bullying is when it's ongoing, it's relentless. It makes you question your self-worth. It makes you question your value. It makes you feel invisible. It could be anyone. It could be your boss. It could be your husband. It could be a group of friends or acquaintances, or even a family member. But if it's ongoing and it doesn't stop, that to me is bullying.
Steve, with your coaching practice, I'm sure you've come across a lot of people that are still feeling the after effects of being bullied as a child. You know, I look at some schools that, you know, you say, you know, how is the school a problem? Well, when the teachers or the principal are saying, oh, that's just boys being boys, or that's just girls being girls, then they're allowing a specific behavior to continue going on. They're not stopping it from happening, which can have long-term effects. Have you seen that working with any of the clients that you've had over the years?
Ray, you're a funny man. Have I seen that? Have I seen that? Almost every day. Almost every day.
Yeah.
I was talking with a couple several years ago, and when he was growing up as a young boy, his mother did some really bad things in disciplining him, and he carried that pain for literally 30 years. I was talking with a new client not too long ago, and he was in his 50s, and he remembered vividly some of the different abusive things that his father did to him. And there were times that he carried out not the exact same things, but he carried out a lot of abusive things to other people that, because when we're young, we're wired in certain ways, that we become the aggressors in some ways because somebody hit a trigger. I mean, you mentioned, you know, something about somebody's coming down a slide and they bump somebody and they automatically snap and they start punching the other person. Well, the same thing happens in our adult lives as well. If that was your predisposed way of doing things because that's what you saw day after day after day, then that's how you're going to manifest things. I'll give you one example. I had a client several years ago that when he was 10 years old, he was molested by an uncle. And this went on for several years. And he started praying, God, just kill him, just take him away. Well, crazy thing, unfortunately, this uncle got sick and died. And it was very suddenly. Well, this young boy, now 12, 13 years old, while he didn't start manifesting things immediately, when he turned 20, he became the molester himself because that's the way his brain had been wired. So when we see repeated negative behaviors over and over and over again, oftentimes that becomes burned in our brains that is acceptable behavior. And then when the opportunity presents itself, then we start lashing out and triggering because of those things. And the challenge comes in is how do you deal with those things if not dealt with properly? So, Debbie, I got a question back to you.
Yeah.
Being a woman in our crazy world today, are you seeing bullying from a different perspective in social settings where whether it's other women bullying or men that are bullying, putting you down, making you feel like less of a person? And I've got a follow-up story for you when you're done.
Sure. Yes. Certainly bullying happens in social situations. Mean girls grow up to be mean women. It could happen with a group of coworkers who don't invite you to after-work activities, or just like in school, leave you sitting alone to eat your lunch. It could be a woman's husband who, every time she leaves the table, he makes inappropriate remarks to you whenever you go out as a group. It could be all kinds of different things, but yes, it definitely happens in social situations.
So if I could add to that also, there's so many different types of bullying. You've got the verbal, where you're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid, you will never, if the husband or boyfriend is constantly saying that to the female, is this, I'm the best you're ever going to get, the female might start feeling insecure and might start thinking, well, you are the best I'm going to get, so I guess this is the new love. And if they go from one relationship to another, and it's the same cycle, because they believe what the person says over and over again. You have the physical bullying of somebody hitting you, slapping you, shaking you, yelling and screaming at you. You have the sexual bullying, where it's not intimate, it's violence, as close to rape as you can get it, or it's rape. You have financial bullying, where if the husband is the breadwinner and he's controlling the wife or the girlfriend as to who she can see and who she can hang out with and what she can spend money on. He's giving her an allowance versus allowing her to live her own life. There's so many different directions that you can go to adult bullying. Yes, no?
Oh, yes,
so.
Absolutely.
Steve, if you want to add to that, I'm sure
you've been reading my notes,
right? Dealt with that to a lot of the clients
I've coached a lot of women over the years that have either gone through a divorce or they are divorced, and those are some of those things. What you just described are some of the things that they have lived out. And a lot of times, because of the masculine tendencies of putting down and repressing, a lot of women start to come into their shells, and they've decided, I'm not going to be who I really am. And until they get to the point where they really start to recognize that they do have worth, they are important, they are special, all of a sudden, when they realize those things, Ray, Debbie, I got to tell you, the light comes on, the face starts to glow. I had a situation many years ago where I was observing a husband that he was continuously verbally putting down his wife. I mean, and not cussing or anything of that sort, but just being very demeaning and demanding. You need to go get me a glass of tea. How many times have I told you? I've asked for that tea 3 times now. Can't you do anything right? Those kinds of things. And I called him out. I just told him, I said, why don't you start acting like stop acting like a jerk, and why don't you start treating her like she's a princess that she actually is. You have no clue what you've got on your hands, because she is so much better than you. And he hated that, walked out of the room because he was having a little pity party because somebody called him out for being a jerk. Debbie, how many times have you seen those kinds of things? Have you? I'm sorry, I got riled up with this stuff. This really aggravates me because you're bringing back flashbacks to me.
Often you'll see the men talking down to their girlfriend, their wife, I think in a way to keep their self-esteem low so that they don't leave them, so they don't find someone better. Like Ray was saying, they tell them that I'm the best you're ever going to get, and they brainwash them. They believe that. It's a very narcissistic thing. There are two different kinds of narcissists, so bullying comes from narcissists in two different ways. One is a vulnerable narcissist. They see the world that everyone's out to get them. They're very sensitive. Every time someone does or say something, well, you're doing it to hurt me. You're doing it to get me. The other is the grandiose narcissist who thinks they're the center of the universe. Their self-esteem is high. And they're the ones that control. They're the ones that they use. How often have you heard this? You know, a man will say something to a woman that's demeaning or hurtful, and she reacts normally with hurt feelings, and then, oh, come on, that's only a joke. What's the matter? Get a sense of humor. I'm only kidding. Geez. And then so the woman is hurt twice. She's hurt with the mean comment, and then she's put down for reacting like a normal person would. So yes, narcissists are prevalent for bullying, along with other people.
So true, Debbie. Thank you very much. I appreciate your insights. You know, it's interesting. The Lifewave patch is cute little wafer thin patch with decades of research. It'll take away all kinds of pain. It'll take care of pains in your neck and your back and your shoulder, in your feet, whatever, pains in your knees, et cetera, because it activates your stem cells, and your stem cells are going to work. Unfortunately, it does not take away emotional or verbal pain. But if you're dealing with those physical pains, reach out to me. I would love to share more information about how Lifewave, the X39 stem cell patch, can actually take away those physical pains that you're dealing with.
Absolutely. I want to look into that seriously. So you're going to have to give me some. I think one of our techs here, Rob, was kind of looking into it. He might be interested as well. So we might get some information sent out to him. Off of what Debbie was talking about, and this will go into, does bullying ever stop? When you hit rock bottom, I was bullied my whole life. And it was until I took matters into my own hands and I said, I will not be a target for or a victim of verbal or physical abuse anymore. Sometimes people have to hit rock bottom before they make that decision. I need help, I need a coach, I need some kind of training. If a daughter comes home from school and sees the father come home and yell at the wife, why is this house a mess? Why is dinner not cooked? Why are you so lazy? Why are you this? And remember, the father is the first person a daughter falls in love with. It's the first man a daughter falls in love with. And if that's what she gets used to seeing as a child, that's what love looks like, chances are that's the type of relationship she's going to get into. Now, flip that, if the daughter comes home and she sees the dad come home and says, honey, can I help you clean the house? Honey, let me help you make dinner. Let me help you with the dishes. And she sees them communicating with each other and problem solving with each other. They might have arguments, but they resolve the arguments in a healthy way. When she grows up and starts dating, if somebody abuses her or mistreats her, hopefully in her mind, My dad didn't treat my mom this way, and I'll be damned if I let you treat me this way. And she ends that abusive relationship and moves on until she finds a healthy, strong relationship to be in. So bullying is not going to stop. It's always going to be around until the end of time. It's up to you to make it stop. It's up to you to get the coaching or the right kind of help to know how to stand up to someone verbally and physically so that you're not that target of violence or bullying anymore. You know, Debbie's starting a program called From Victim to Victorious. Do you want to talk about that a little?
I'm starting the program Victim to Victorious to work with women either on one-to-one, women's groups, or just at one-day seminars to get them out of the mindset of being a victim. A victim isn't always someone who's physically abused. Sometimes they're a victim of themselves. Sometimes they see themselves as a victim, and so they act as a victim. My goal is to teach them how to see themselves as victorious so that they can achieve their goals, so they can achieve a better life, so they can live their life feeling empowered.
That is awesome.
So, Debbie, question for you related to that. Why do some women tend to laugh off the bullying scenarios with their spouse, their husband, boyfriend, whatever the case is? Why do you think a lot of women just laugh it off?
They aren't laughing it off, even though it looks that way. If you watch the video, you see videos on Facebook and YouTube or wherever, or even on the news sometimes, where a man in power, is doing something inappropriate to a woman, and she just kind of laughs or coyly looks at him or looks uncomfortable maybe, but doesn't do much. I try to keep myself educated. I was watching a video from another martial arts studio, and they said it perfectly, that a woman is not going to set boundaries unless she feels capable of enforcing those boundaries once they're set. So that's the problem. There's the fight, flight, or freeze. If she's in a situation where it's a boss, where it's someone in power, someone that's an acquaintance, a friend, she's not going to start throwing elbows and doing eye gouging. Even if she's trained, she's not going to be doing that. She's not going to run away because why are you running away? That would feel inappropriate at that situation. But she freezes, because now what is she going to do? She hasn't set those boundaries. She doesn't know how to enforce it if she did. And so she needs training verbally and mentally, how to be able to say, that's inappropriate, I don't want you doing that, please don't do that again. She has to back that up with, especially like in a work situation, going to HR and letting them know that there's a problem. Now, just like with child bullying, that kid's tattling. She doesn't want to feel like she's tattling. So what does she do? That's where teaching everyone to be a hero for each other comes in. It has to be not just one person reporting someone who's an abuser or a bully. It has to be everyone who saw it. If you see something, say something. Yes, we'll stand up to that bully with you. The more people you get standing up to that person, the more they're going to back down and the behavior will stop.
I just saw or shared a post on Facebook where it was about a girl that had Down syndrome, that she was a cheerleader for a basketball team, and there were people in the audience heckling her, teasing her, making fun of her, and her dad wanted to stop it by getting up and doing something, and she said, "Dad, it doesn't matter, even though they're mean to me, I still love them." And then 3 other basketball players that saw what was going on stood up and walked out of the game. And the other basketball players saw what was going on and followed suit until the coaches and the teachers stopped the bullying or the heckling from going on. They weren't going to play. So that's what we talk about, bystanders being a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. If you see something, then figure out a way to take that action to be a hero for someone else. It was an awesome post, and I just had to reshare it, and now I'm sharing it with all of you.
I love it. Right. Not only do I love that post and the fact that those basketball players stood up for that girl, that's a great story. But there's something else that I love, and that is I love the Shaklee Meology program. And it looks like this. It's this cute little packet of all of my supplements that I take. They told me exactly what I needed. I filled out the assessment. And within a few days, I had these little packets in the mail. So now I don't have to fumble with a bunch of jars and bottles and so forth. I just open up one of these little packets. And if you need more information about a customized program specifically for you and your physical needs, you need to reach out to my friend Natalie Thurman, and she will give you all the answers that you need. She is an absolutely amazing 84-year-old mom, and she's got a dream to help as many people live healthy as much as they possibly can. So, right back to you.
So, Natalie is, being a hero in some
Totally.
ways by helping people live healthier lives, and she's doing that through Shaklee. And, again, that's one of the reasons why we love having her as a sponsor on our show, because it ties into pretty much a lot of what you do, a lot of what I do as far as wanting to help people in general.
Absolutely.
So, Steve, in the media, all over the country, all over the world, we're seeing a lot of cancel culture. Do you think, or do you view this cancel culture as a form of bullying?
Is it a form of bullying? When you are being silenced because you may hurt somebody's feelings, now I'm not saying you should be insensitive and mean-spirited about the things that you say, but frankly, Ray, we are going to say some things along the way, and on this journey of taboo talk with Ray and Steve, we're going to say some things that people are going to be offended by. And I'm sorry, I'm not going out to try and offend people, but we are going to offend some people and hurt some people's feelings. You are seeing that all over the place where somebody says something, and it's happening more on the conservative side of the world, but somebody conservative says something, and then a group of people get together and they say, we need to cancel all of their sponsors and we're not going to do business with them and so forth and so on. I'll give you a case in point. Several months ago, Mike Lindell with the My Pillow company, he started defending some different things that were going on, and he was calling people out. Well, one after another, retailers stopped selling his products. Now, the crazy thing is his online sales went through the roof, but he lost millions of dollars because he hurt some people's feelings because people didn't want the truth to come out based on his perspective on things. So that's just one example. You see it in college campuses all over the place. I follow several different podcast people, and one of them, Charlie Kirk, he goes on the college campuses and he talks about truth on a regular basis. And there are people that are threatening him violence on a regular basis because they don't like what he's saying. So we've gotten to this insensitive culture that you're hurting my feelings, so you can't do that anymore. You got to stop doing that because you're mean. Well, they're not being mean. They're just sharing their opinions and their truth. So cancel culture all the way around, whether it's the media, whether it's advertisers or small fringe groups of people that are trying to control things, is absolutely insidious what's going on. Once upon a time, we had this thing called free speech, but there are a lot of people that don't like free speech when it's different from their free speech. So they become bullies and they start convincing people you need to cancel that other person. That is an adult well, no, I take that back. I was going to say that's an adult version of bullying, but it's not. It's people that think they're entitled to only their opinion. And when you start sharing your opinion and it's counter to theirs, I'm sorry, they become bullies. And they become like 14-year-olds whining and crying because you hurt their feelings. So, Ray, whatever you do, we have to be very careful that we don't hurt other people's feelings along the way, because sometimes people have fragile feelings. So, Ray, you have to promise that you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings, okay?
No, that's not going to happen. Because I believe in free speech. You know,
Absolutely. Amen, brother. Preach it.
Hold on a second. For me, it's the labeling. Like,
Absolutely.
when we lived in St. Louis, the number one question is, what high school did you go to, or what part of town did you live? North County, South County, West County. And if you said North County, they're like, ooh, you come from the rough part of town, the poor part of town. Or if you said a specific school district, then they're automatically judging you. They're not getting to know you. They're not getting to know your background or your history or what you've gone through in life. They immediately judge you. You know, for me, I was raised, and this could be another taboo talk when we talk about religion, but I was raised a Baha'i. A Baha'i is a religion that believes all religions are one. But with the severe bullying that I went through, I didn't even want that label. Like if you say I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Jew, I'm a Buddhist, you're automatically labeled and judged by other people that are not of the same faith as you. More people have died because of religious wars than anything else because of that label. And I didn't want to label myself. You know, I'm a God-fearing person. I believe in God. I believe in a higher power. But I'm not going to label myself as part of any religion because I don't want somebody judging me. I want them to get to know who I am and what I believe in and have a conversation rather than, even martial arts. I'm a judo player, I'm a jiu-jitsu player, I'm a taekwondo guy. They immediately go, ooh, jiu-jitsu is better than taekwondo, you're nothing. I deal with this and see it every day. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're a conservative, you're a libertarian, you're, help me out here, what are some other labels that, you're upper class, middle class, lower class, you're young, middle-aged, old, you're
You're a white collar, you're blue collar.
You're a blue collar versus a white collar. Yeah. All of those fuel bullying.
Absolutely.
When you put
it's
a
all
label
labeling,
on
Ray.
someone,
it's all labeling.
It's the LGBT.
You're putting people
you're
into
gay,
a class
you're lesbian, you're binary, you're whatever. It's real simple. I got the solution to this problem. You're either a good person or you're a bad person.
Pretty much.
You don't need all of the other labels. You're either good, you're bad. If you're a bad person, then we'll deal with you. And you'll suffer consequences according to our laws. According to those 3 Ps, policies, procedures, and programs. If you're a good person, hey, I will cohabitate, I will live, I will love you to death. The second you're a bad person and you want to infringe on who I am and my rights, no, I've got problems with you. And I'm not going to hesitate expressing my feelings to that.
You know, Ray, with you saying that, I'm a follower of Dr. Ben Carson. He was the HUD secretary under President Trump, and he grew up in the inner city. And his mom would not let him watch a lot of TV growing up. In fact, I don't remember, it was like 30 minutes or maybe a max of an hour a day. But what they did do is they went to the library on a regular basis. As a result, he became an incredible surgeon. And what he did, he told stories about operating on babies in vitro before they're born. And he said there's one common thread with everybody. We all bleed the same color. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have. We've got this superiority or this narcissistic mindset that I'm better than you are because I'm this, I'm that, I'm not like you, et cetera, those kinds of things. You know, crazy thing, Ray, is you can come from an absolute perfect family background. My parents, my dad was a minister, my mom was a school teacher, and I lived in what I thought was a model home. And I knew what proper behavior was. I learned proper behavior by watching my parents. But yet one of my siblings has turned out to be a bully. And he bullies people that he thinks are inferior to him. So the inferiority stuff that's going on, you know, you've got those narcissists that are just trying to control everybody any which way they possibly can. And we got to stop the bullying, and we've got to stand up to the bullies, put them in their place, and say, okay, you are no better than anybody else. And I help people with that. And I know, Ray, I love our previous conversations. I know that's your mindset as well, as helping people feel good about themselves. And I thank you for what you do.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, that's a big part of why I created Heroes in Action, is to shed light on problems that we're having in society and give people the tools to be problem solvers, to be able to learn how to stand up for themselves and stand up for others. Steve, it was a great episode. Debbie, thank you for joining us on today's show.
Thank you, Debbie.
Next week, Steve, you want to kind of shed some light on who we've got before we sign out? We have 10 seconds.
I'm still trying to get things solidified, but we've got several really good shows that are coming up soon.
All right. Well, until then, we will see you next week. Thank you for watching Taboo Talk.